You got to change your habits or change your goals.
Muay Thai is 50% running and 30% laundry.
Keep working on your game. Keep innovating.
I'm always winning.
What is your pro tip?
Welcome to another pro tip conversation. I'm really excited to have Chris Cariaso of Rise Combat Sports with us today. Chris is a retired mixed martial artist who competed as a flyweight in the UFC. Chris turned pro in 2006, I think, right? And competed in several organizations, obtaining wins in large MMA promotions like Strikeforce and Elite XC. Cariaso won the ISCF Bantamweight title in October 2009. And he made his WEC debut in June 2010 and won his first fight unanimously, the unanimous decision. Chris today is a trainer, gym owner, coach at Rise Combat Sports, which is the gym you run and own. Mm-hmm. And he remains active in martial arts today. And thanks for joining us for this chat.
Yeah, no worries, man. Anytime.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It was so hard to get a hold of.
No, I get it. You're a busy man. Like I was like, you're a trainer, you're a businessman. There's a lot going on, so it should make for a good talk, though. And just to get like how you got into this whole world, like how'd you discover martial arts and what kind of got you going?
Yeah, I've been in martial arts like my whole life since I was like 5 years old. So
really?
Yeah. So my my dad got me into martial arts, and then I wanted to be like Bruce Lee, and then I was like, I wanted to do what Bruce Lee did, so I started like traditional martial arts, and then
was it like karate kind of stuff, or what was it?
Taekwondo,
Taekwondo. Okay, yeah.
So then I actually moved from the Bay Area to Arizona, and then I started doing Taekwondo out there in Arizona, and then it was just like really watered down. It just wasn't a good school. And then my mom came across a flyer at a Thai restaurant.
Oh wow!
For a Muay Thai gym, and it turned out being for a gym Fairtex. So and they opened a gym in Chandler back in like 1993-ish,
And that was like early Fairtex, right? That was
early Fairtex, and Bunkered, Ganyao, and there was another guy, Sakasam. They just came over straight from Thailand, and they were having this grand opening, and I went on the first day, and I met Bunkered, and shit, I did one lesson, and I was hooked. I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, this stuff is real. That's what I told her. Like, it's not like the other stuff. Like, this is actually real.
It's like a tried and true ring sport, right? Like, you get hit. So that was you trained a bit before that, but like Fairtex in Arizona was sort of your first Muay Thai
Muay Thai experience, and then I did like an amateur Muay Thai fight when I was like 11 years old.
I was going to ask you, did you plan to compete right away?
I didn't. I was just training every day. I loved it. It was like so fun to me, and so I just like never missed a day. I remember I went for like 6 months straight, not even missing one day, every single day, just like had the bug, and so Bunkered was like, "Hey, you want to fight?" And I was like, "Okay." I didn't really know what I was doing. Next thing I know, I got like knocked out. My mom's like, "You're never fighting again." And I was like, "No, I'm fighting again. I got to do it because and I can't end on that one,
Right. What was the like Muay Thai scene like then? Because it was still pretty new, right? Like,
man, it was especially in Arizona, Muay Thai was tiny, and it was just like there was barely any Asian people in Arizona at that that time, and so it was super small, but like these guys from Thailand were there training, teaching, coaching, and it was pretty freaking awesome. And I just got super lucky we ran across them.
Yeah. And then, so when did you get out to the Bay Area? Because I know you started your gym in San Francisco. I guess that was that late 90s, 2000s?
We started it in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like our opening when we opened was 2004, March of 2004.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that Brian gym is where I
The Brian,
first,
that's where you
that's where I
started.
first
Yeah.
that's where I discovered Muay Thai. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a cool little gym. I remember the small roofs that would rain
Yeah.
condensation on you.
Yep. Yep. Man, that was the best place, that little gym.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. What inspired you, or what led you to want to kind of start your own thing?
Well, like kind of growing up, I was like racing BMX at the time when I was a kid, and then like Muay Thai got me, in shape and strong, and I got fast at racing BMX. I was just,
Yeah.
kind of did that thing, and then, I had an injury, a big injury, and that kind of like took me out of racing. And
Okay.
naturally, I was like, oh, I got to get back in shape. I'm gonna start training again, and I started. And kind of during that whole time period, like I went from Arizona to SoCal, and then when I decided I wanted to like start training again and kind of get back into it, I went up to the Bay Area.
Okay.
But I'm from the Bay Area, so like my dad lived there, like I had
Okay. You got some roots there.
so yeah, so I had roots. So like I think I was 15 when I went back to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And then, I was living in San Jose, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to train. So I hop on the Cal train, take that from San Jose to
That's a
San
journey.
Francisco, and just make the journey until my dad like got me a car,
Yeah.
and then I was able to drive. But, like,
Yeah.
kind of like my idea was like, oh, I'm going to get back into racing and get fast again. And I'll just start training. And then, after I was kind of right at the age where like, okay, racing, I kind of got lost my team sponsorship
Yeah.
and, so I was just like, well, I'm just going to just keep training, and,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, I'm like, hey, I kind of want to fight, and then I wanted to do Muay Thai, but Muay Thai scene was like really small. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to do some amateur boxing, just to fight and, just kind of training with Bunker the whole time, actually, and a little bit with Paris, but mainly with Bunker the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just, trained me for boxing. And then, that kind of went into like Muay Thai fights. And then it kind of turned into like, okay, well, let's turn pro with this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, we're doing pretty good. We're getting some wins, multiple wins. We got some amateur titles and,
Yeah. Nice.
so let's do it. And then,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kept it up.
And then like so kind of looking back on your fight career, do you have like some accomplishments that stand out for you? Some kind of big moments?
I've had a lot of good big moments, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I always think about like, when I got the call to fight for the title, right, for the UFC title.
Yeah.
That was like a huge moment because,
Yeah.
I remember training every single day, like I'm gonna be a champion, I'm gonna be a champion. I'm gonna be the best, right? Like that was like my whole goal, right? And then, when I got the call that, you're gonna get that opportunity, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It's really
That's
happening.
the big time. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then, and then from there it was crazy. So
Do you have any regrets or things that you wish you had done differently or known before you got into it?
yeah, totally. Like number one, I wish I'd like wrestled in like,
Okay.
junior high and high school,
Yeah, I can always start earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, because funny story is like I remember like wrestling, and I remember I was doing Muay Thai at the time too.
Yeah.
And I was gonna go wrestle, and I remember like go to sign-ups. You had to go sign up and try out at the the lunchroom. And I remember like going to the door, right? And I was like, I remember putting my hand on the door, and I was like, I don't want to wear a singlet.
Sure. Yeah.
And I turned around and I walked away, and I just like, oh, I'm doing Muay Thai anyway, so I'll just do that.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
So that was my biggest regret right there. And who knows, like I might have stayed in school and like went to college and wrestled, and had a little bit different, path. But I got lucky with my path.
Um, when you were fighting and competing, like how important was the having a sort of a support system with like coaches and teammates and family and stuff to help you kind of navigate all of that?
Oh yeah, it's super important, right? You gotta have a team that
Yeah.
you're loyal to, and then you gotta have a team that's loyal to you too. You know what I mean? That will help you out and be
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
when you ask them. You know what I mean? And when you need them,
Yeah.
and training with the Thai guys, with Bunker and everybody. Since I was 11 years old, they were always going to be there for me and help me,
Yeah.
coming up. So, super important. And, I think I just had like a kid too when I was like fighting in the UFC. Like I had like 2 new kids. So my wife like took the
Yeah.
brunt of all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, and I would actually leave, go train in San Francisco for a few weeks, you know what I mean? And travel all around to, continue to get better and, make sure that, that, you know, the wife's at home and she's definitely
Yeah.
like taking care of everything and holding everything down.
I think it's interesting in this sport, yeah, because you see when you're in the ring, it's like you're there standing by yourself, but there's like people in your corner. There's like you say, family supporting you, so you can get the training and the time and the travel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And because, when you're training, you got to be kind of selfish,
yeah,
especially like in that sport. Right. And,
yeah.
and you have to, there's a lot of sacrifice that you have to make in
It's
order
a
to excel,
yeah, it's a big time dedication. Like I trained as a guy who had a full time job and did it in the evenings for fun and stuff. But I remember seeing the guys who were trying to compete. It's like a full time job.
Oh,
You
it's a
train.
full,
Yeah, it's a lot of
yeah,
work.
it's definitely a full-time job. Yeah. It's like 6, 7 hours a day of training, if you're doing it right,
Yeah, if
like
you're
if you're
serious.
and you're doing strength training and you're doing your grappling training and then you got to do your striking training, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
so it's like, I mean, there's so many levels of it where it is a full-time job,
for
and
sure. Yeah.
you kind of have to make that sacrifice to do it.
So I was curious about sort of just so in kind of relation to all that training. So kind of can you talk about kind of the physical toll that takes in your body over time, and maybe long term effects, or how you kind of manage your overall health and kind of well being through all of
you
that?
know during coming up, and especially when I was fighting at 125,
Yeah,
that we used to always say it like steals your soul, you know what I mean, like,
yeah.
cutting to that, because I'd walk around 155, 160 pounds,
Oh, that's a lot of cut. Yeah,
and then I would have to like lose in 8 weeks,
yeah.
35 pounds, and so it would be like, so that part right there was like a mental
Yeah.
fuck, 'cause you know
Oh,
what I mean.
yeah, yeah. You're probably hangry the whole time, you know?
You're hangry, and then like what I mean. You're just no energy, and you got these crazy diets.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are some like key quality or characteristics you think that somebody who wants to be successful, like in MMA or just even any kind of pro fight space, like really has to have?
Well, I think there's kind of like 3 main things that people are that you're really kind of looking for. Like one of them is like dedication, man. You gotta like be
Yeah,
dedicated, and you gotta be willing to show up all the time, right?
right.
And then
Yeah, on bad days and good days, right? Yeah,
bad days, good days, you gotta just like, even when it sucks, right? You gotta like,
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people, I mean, there's all those memes and stuff like dedication, like, what I mean, that, and what's the word when you're kind of doing stuff all the time? It's not dedication. It's well, like scheduling, obviously, but
yeah,
like there's basically showing up, man. You just got to
yeah.
show up, right? And then that never quit too. That never quit attitude, right? Of just
Right.
like, what, I won't quit, right? That like, there's nothing you can do to make me quit.
Yeah, it's kind of that
Honestly,
hunger, be hungry for it kind of thing.
you got to be hungry for it, yeah,
Yeah,
and you got to want it. You got to kind of want it more than anybody else does, right? And you got to be willing to sacrifice to do it. So, for me, when I'm training guys, it's, and they want to get good, I'd say, all right, cool,
yeah,
show up these days, I'll be here, and then, if they show up, and the ones that don't, they keep showing up, then all of a sudden they're good, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so
That's an interesting transition. So now you coach at your gym. Sort of I guess it's sort of a natural progression, but what kind of brought that transition to coaching from you're kind of doing some at the same time, yeah?
Yeah. So, cause like coming up, like when I first like started the gym, right. And, first I wasn't really fighting pro, I was just doing amateur,
Yeah.
and I started the gym because like, something that I really liked doing. I liked martial arts, right. And I wanted to be like, okay, well, how do I make a living doing it?
Yeah.
I want to do martial arts, right? And then all of a sudden, like I got into like fighting, and then I was like, all right, well, what's pretty cool now is I have a backup plan where,
You're right.
yeah, you know what I mean? I got something I can fall back to
Yeah.
when I'm doing. But then kind of like my third like philosophy and thing was like, like for me, like I loved martial arts, right? And I always told myself, right, I'm going to be a champion, right? And then if I'm not going to be a champion, then I'm going to make a champion.
Right.
Yeah. That was kind of like been like my goal and like my philosophy kind of once I started the gym was like, okay, well, my goal is to be the champion, right? And then if I can't be the champion, then I'm gonna make a champion, right? Yeah. And I got fucking close. I touched the championship belt. I was there. My picture was on the side of the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
But I didn't get it. But so now I'm working on that next one, trying to get the next guy to get that belt. So.
And so, as somebody who's worked with a lot of coaches and been a coach, like what do you think are like really some key qualities and skills that a coach has to have, particularly if you want to like make champions?
Like for one, like you got to be willing to sacrifice too. You know what I mean? Like I'm still sacrificing now.
Right.
Today, right? It's like a lot of these guys that are training and fighting, right? I can almost say that I was at almost every training session with them. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You asked them to show up and you have to show up, right?
Yeah, so, I'm finding a little more balance as I'm getting older.
Right.
Now I'm quite a psycho, but, that's that kind of that sacrifice. And then two, like, I think just like understanding fighting and still loving it, right? And doing it because you love the sport, because we don't make money, really, that much money, especially like, okay, you're going to give me 10% of a guy who's making freaking, $800 for his fight. Like, great. Yeah. Thanks for the $80. You know what I mean?
That's
it's almost like a shame to take their money. It's like, dude, you need this more than I do.
Yeah. It's like a tank of gas, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like, and that's for their like 8 weeks of training, so and that's just for that camp, not to mention the 5 years or 3 years they put in beforehand, right? But you just do it. I think doing it because you love it, and then also understanding it, and kind of knowing how you don't have to be a great fighter, I don't think, but I think that you have to be around like people that have trained at a high level, and that way you know what it looks like, because if you look at a lot of the champions at the highest level, right, I mean, they all have a lot of similarities in their training, right? They train all the fucking time, right? And you know what I mean? It's like they don't stop training, right? And only a few of them make it to the top without training that much, right? And
how do you balance that with some folks, or is it a thing you need to balance where you're pushing fighters kind of to their limits physically and maybe mentally, but then how do you kind of prevent sort of burnout and injury for guys who are want to do it sort of for a long period of time, so they need to kind of maintain some health? And
I tell them, quit being a bitch, keep training. What did you expect, right? Like, it's like you either gonna get the call, or you know what I mean, or you got to keep trying to get that call, right? So it's like, if you quit before you get the call, then you're never gonna get the call. So it's like, so it's like, I mean, I kind of went through that with one of my guys. Casey, who was training with me. His fourth pro fight, UFC said, "Hey, be on pause. We may need you."
Wow.
Right. 7 fights later, 2.5 years later, they finally signed him to the UFC.
Nice. Yeah.
Right. After dinking around with him, but it's like, you know, it's like, hey, we might call you, and then it's like, you know, I mean, we went through like all kinds of emotions, up and down, and you know what I mean? And like, there's times of burnout where it's like, dude, are they ever gonna call me? Right? I'm freaking 9-0 and 8-0. Right? Like, what do I need to do to like get this call again? You know what I mean? And you know, so it's like, and like,
is there anything you can do to help like promote, help a better get more visibility? Is it just being super active? Or?
You know, like I do have connections and they all know me, you know what I mean, in the UFC, and you know, a lot of the managers, they know who I am. So like, you know, getting a good manager and getting the right people in your corner is definitely the only way to get there, you know what I mean? If
that makes sense. And then so I'm going to transition a little bit to you as a gym owner now. I was curious about, so, you know, you kind of talked a bit about this too, but then sort of how do you do that balance between now you're like you're a businessman, you're a trainer, and you're like have a family, like you know, how do you kind of find that space where you can wear all those hats?
It's pretty tough, man. But you know, like now I guess, you know, it's not just me too, you know what I mean? I have a team of guys underneath me that, you know, are working with us and training with us, you know. You know, for instance, Bunker's still, you know, with us and he's part of the team, and you know,
still,
he's still coaching, and Parrot, we still got the crew and they're all loyal, and then, you know what I mean, there's part of the team that starts, that's just
how does that work for like finding folks who you know come in to be part of that training?
you know, it's kind of luck in a sense, in my eyes. You know, a lot of the guys that come over, you know, for me, I've never been like that guy to like poach a coach from somewhere else, you know what I mean? So I've always been like, okay, guys who've been training with me, training under my system, and you know what I mean, then kind of knows how my style of training.
Kind of homegrown trainers.
Exactly. So kind of homegrown trainers, and then I have a few guys that, you know, kind of came from elsewhere, but you know, like came to me and were, you know, wanting to train and continue more, and then you know, and then, you know, eventually, you know, they're coaching and stuff. So
as a gym owner, what are your kind of like key day-to-day responsibilities and kind of keeping the gym running and the doors open?
You know, there's a lot of stuff, you know, that's involved with it. You know, obviously, you know, always trying to get more students, right, all the time. The number thing is like,
do you promote, or is it word of mouth, or how do you?
I don't promote a whole lot. I should do it more, but a lot of it is word of mouth and you know, web stuff, and you know, a lot of people just kind of randomly looking up. But you know,
it seemed like that I mean, I'm only familiar with the gym you have in San Francisco, but it seemed like it's a lot of friends of friends who kind of get into it. You get a lot of folks there who are actually another interesting question is like balancing that between, obviously you've got a group of guys and women who are wanting to be serious athletes and fighters, and you've got a whole group of folks, part of my world, who are like getting a good workout, right? Like, how do you balance your gym to sort of fit both of those groups?
You know, like I've been trying to create a little bit of separation now, a little bit. Like I used to just say, all right, everybody trains together, we're all tough, you know, we're all gonna get better together. But then, you know, like, you know, kind of as we're like going on, and you know, there's like guys that are like, I don't feel like getting hit in the face today, you know what I mean? I don't want to do sparring drilling, right? I don't want someone to clinch spar and like crank on my neck, right? I gotta work tomorrow, you know what I mean? I got a meeting or whatever. So, you know, kind of kind of now just still trying to give people, you know, that option of like, okay, well, you know, you're learning, you're going here, but then now we have like our fight team training where, you know, we push it harder and I can talk a little more shit. And
Yeah. So if
like,
anybody comes into that group, they know they're going to be training a little harder, and you're going to be.
yeah, they're going to train a little bit harder. Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to expect a little bit more like, hey, bro, you should know how to hold pads.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I shouldn't be like showing you how to do a foot jab. You know what I mean? It's like,
It should be like a prerequisite level that you've achieved. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of finding that more, but I still have, you know, the new guys wanting to jump in that like never
Yeah.
done stuff, but like, all right, cool, come on in. But you know,
Yeah.
You know how it is. It's just I'm always welcoming to everybody. That's
For sure. Yeah, I
one
mean, I
thing.
think I came in and then I was curious about competing. I think I did a smoker like
Uh-huh.
before I was ready. Come with
Uh-huh.
butt kicks. But it's like, you know, there was the opportunity to just like try, see what happens.
Yeah,
You know?
right. See what happens. Yeah, exactly. Fuck it, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I was just talking about this with one of my students the other day, right? Because like I had an old student and somebody was like saying stuff about me because they were like one of my, you know, that was a former student of mine that I had to ask to leave. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you know, so and he was saying bad stuff about me, and he told this person that I didn't like believe in them, right? And it was like as a fighter, right? And I was like, you know, are you crazy? Like, have I ever like told anybody? And I was talking to someone, said, have I ever told anybody that they couldn't do something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Even the guys who aren't ready, I'm like, I feel bad like telling them like, oh shit, bro, you're not ready. You know what I mean? like you know, so it's like, you know, like start training, keep training. You know what I mean? And I don't know. So
I guess to some degree, when you know step in the spar or do a smoker or something, you kind of get a sense of your level and if you're ready or not.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So you know, and you know, that's why I let people just do it. Like, you know what? Try it. Fuck it. You might be that guy who sucks in the gym, but then you put him in front of him. You fight with your heart, right? And you're freaking badass.
Yeah, that's kind of I've seen that people who are like pad heroes and
Yeah.
then can't do the ring, and then inversely these guys who don't look strong in the pad but just have like so much heart.
They have so much heart and they freaking are gamers, and you're like, where did
Yeah.
that come from? I wish you would like train like that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're
You know
saying
who
that you had some conflict, you've had to ask, you know, people out of the gym before. Like, what are some of the big challenges, you know, around that, around running the gym and sort of managing the community?
you know, I feel like everybody, like for me being like the gym owner and like the head coach, like I feel like I like you know you never can please everybody. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's like coach is not spending enough time with me. Like he's paying attention to somebody else, or you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
but it's like, bro, it's like, well, for one, it's not your turn. Like when you have a fight, I'll be focusing on you. If they have a fight, so I'm trying to
Right.
focus on them, right? And you know, or you know, this is like one of the pros, and you guys are amateurs, and it's your first amateur fight, and you know, this guy's been with me for 5 years, so you know what I mean. So it's just kind of like balancing
Yeah.
that, but you know, I think that you know that's the hardest thing is trying to please everybody, you know.
Sure. Yeah. You're managing a lot of personalities for sure, right? And
Yeah, exactly, right. You know, and so.
so what's your kind of plan now? Like, do you have some long-term vision or goals, or, I mean, you talk about, you know, making champions now. Is that kind
So
of,
yeah, you know, just continue, you know, promote, you know, getting my guys up, and
yeah.
you know, we do a couple of shows a year. My wife and I, we're doing actually a Muay Thai tournament August 19th. It's a pretty
Okay.
cool one. It's gonna be
That's Arizona.
yeah, in Arizona, Tucson, and we hold an MMA show twice a year.
Nice.
Well,
What
we're
is
doing
that?
it twice this year. Last year we did it 3 times, so kind of
What does that
instead of
consist of?
like
Is that like a competition event or
yeah,
how?
so MMA competition, yeah, so MMA fights. So we hold them. We hold those twice a year. So I have a bunch of guys fighting in that, and we have people all
Nice.
over Arizona coming in.
Yeah.
You know, and then like I said, we have a Muay Thai tournament that we are putting on.
Yeah.
You know, and that's August 19th. So it's just kind of, you know, we're always got our foot in it, and you
Yeah.
know, like
Do
for
you
me, I'm always.
do you do many seminars? Are you running many of those?
I don't, you know, I never really kind of got into the whole seminar thing. You
Yeah.
know, I could probably do it and started doing it, probably do pretty well in it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just maybe later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard
you know,
mixed reviews on some. I've heard some people talk about how it is a cool way to meet, like, some of your heroes for folks who can show up, but also
uh-huh.
it's kind of a one time event where you might learn a technique or something, but you're not spending a lot of time with anybody.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're kind of wrapping up here, but I was like, you kind of mentioned advice for fighters and stuff, but do you have any advice for somebody who wanted to open a martial arts gym?
Well,
It's like, don't do it.
don't. Just kidding. Keep your day job.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it sounds like from hearing what you're saying is you gotta love it, you gotta live it, and you gotta be super committed to it.
Exactly. That's basically, you hit it right on the head. Those three things: you got to love it, you got to live it, you got to be committed to it, you know, and be ready for. I mean, I just saw somebody posting today, right? There's like a small gym here, and then he was just like complaining about being like a small business owner and having people that don't pay their bills on time, or like, you know, fighters not showing up to practice, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, that's just, hey, welcome to the gym gym business.
That's the way it's gonna be. Yeah,
it's the way it's gonna be, you know what I mean? And you just gotta kind of have systems in place, and you know, I was kind of fortunate to be able to like work in a gym like Fairtex, and you know, kind of help like mold a program for me, and kind of see how it's done, and to see how it's done on like a high level too, you know. And
right, because you were training with Bunkert in your early days, who had been a pro fighter in Thailand for, I don't know, long time, right? And those guys fight all the time. So
all the time, yeah. So like, kind of like those guys, they already knew the system. They know the system of like, okay, well, you want to train and get good, this is how you do it, right? And you know, so they had a system, and you know, and then also too the business side too, because I was working the back office.
Oh, okay, so you got exposure to both aspects of coaching.
Yeah. So like my first job was working the front desk at Fairtex. So so like, you know, so I kind of just been in the gym business since I was like 16 years old. So
so it's probably pretty natural.
So everything kind of folded over pretty natural, and then you know, kind of at the point where, you know, I was kind of always that guy that was always like looking ahead and trying to build something, you know, and you know, goal in life was, at one point, I was like, I'm gonna open a business, you know what I mean? I'm gonna open a gym with Bunker. It's gonna be fucking awesome, you know. And then
now you got two of them.
Now we got two of them. Maybe a third one down the road, but we'll see what life looks like in a few years. Wait till the kids are out of high school.
Do your kids are they involved in martial arts at all?
They train during the summer. My youngest one wrestled. My oldest one wrestled in junior high, but you know, they're kind of in their own stuff now. Like youngest one likes to do. He's a basketball player, so he's playing like club ball, and now that he goes to middle school, I think. Well, actually, he'll be able to wrestle through middle school, but in high school, it's the same season as basketball. So, like, his plan is to play basketball. So, so he said he's going to wrestle in middle school. And then my oldest one, he was wrestling and was doing really well. But then he was like, I want to race BMX. This is like messing me up for my BMX stuff. And so, so like the cutting weight, because he was like cutting weight. He'd have to cut like, you know, 6 pounds, 5 pounds. You know, which for, you know, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, it's a lot of weight. So
it's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? It's work, man.
It's work. So you know.
So I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Quick, easy questions, and just kind of wrapping up here. But do you have like a walkout song that you like, or something that gets you super hyped, or what you'd pick for your?
You know, it's been so long, but like every time I hear my walkout songs, I still get hyped.
Which does one of them stick out for you?
Um, you know, like they all stick out. I used to walk out to this DMX song.
Oh yeah,
It was,
DMX. That's a good one.
yeah, so it was a good one. It was called "Give Me a Sign,"
Yeah,
and it was a pretty good one. That used to always get me pumped up. I was always gave me some good luck. That song.
nice. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite piece of gear, like some gloves or pads or something that you just always come back and get more of?
uh, so I mean, I do have a belly pad that I've had
Oh,
since 2011 that I still use to this. No,
nice.
actually 2010. No,
Yeah,
2011 that I still use to this day, and
yeah.
so that's kind of like the tag ripped off. So I actually like hung the tag on the wall. It's like this old twins belly pad. I bought it in Japan at one of my fights,
Yeah, it's still
and
holding up.
it's still holding up. And
Yeah.
I'm just riding that one till it's dead.
Do you have a favorite drill?
um, you know, I don't really. My favorite drill would probably be like my kick return drill. So it's basically someone kicks you, you like kick back right away. So
Check
um,
kick, yeah.
yeah, check kick, exactly right. Bunkered 101 right there.
Yeah, I also heard the same from Neungsiam that like if he kicks you, kick him back. Like
Yeah, exactly
every
right.
time.
Nothing free, right?
Yeah, just kick back. And then on the inverse, do you have like a least favorite drill, least favorite exercise?
Yeah, 50 kicks
Oh,
right and left.
yeah.
50-50.
Yeah. I definitely threw up in the alley behind the Bryan Street gym after a run of
50-50.
50-50. Yeah, hot day, didn't eat right. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
Um, so, do you have any guys, upcoming fighters, guys or gals that we should be watching out for? Anybody you want to?
I have one guy. He's in the UFC right now.
Yeah,
Name is Casey Kenny. Top 5. He was in top 10. Just coming off an injury, so we're probably about 3-4 months before we see him back in the ring again.
okay.
I have a bunch of amateurs. Actually, I have two more pros that I'm working with. A girl named Quinn Williams.
Yeah,
Tough 115-pound girl. Fortunately, she lost her first fight, but kind of more or less, I think, kind of the pressure of it got to her because she didn't.
yeah. First one.
She was winning that fight and then just like ended up on bottom.
Ah,
So it was kind of one of those things where it was just like what happened, you know?
just getting the L out of the way.
Yeah, she got it out of the way. Yeah, she was an undefeated amateur too, you know.
Okay.
So it was like,
Yeah,
you know, 5-0, 6-0.
yeah,
You know, going into a pro debut like with a ton of hype and like,
yeah.
you know, she actually went up 10 pounds too. She's a 115-pound fighter, went up to 125
That's a
to
lot.
fight, and you know, so it's just kind of like we should have won that fight, but got it out of the way. So that's what I tell her. Hey, we got that out of the way. Now we can go and
Right.
fight the rest of your career, you know?
Yeah, I always hear. I mean, I guess it goes for any sport, but like any day, any team can win. You never.
Yeah.
Like,
you never know, right? And especially in MMA, there's so many ways to lose.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or there's so many ways to win, however you want to look at it. But,
Right.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
But sometimes the cards fall where they fall.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey man, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, but it's been great.
All good.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Well, appreciate it.